Let's go through items for my build and when to buy them. So for lane, I think the items are pretty straightforward. These are pretty much the order you want to buy items in every game. Restorative Shot is good pretty much every game because it's the most effective EHP item you can buy. They buffed it again recently. It's 40 healing per time you hit a hero on a 6.2 second cooldown. So that means like per minute you're healing almost 400 if you shoot it perfectly, which is not that hard because you have a shotgun, so you can just spam it on cooldown pretty close to. It gives 7% bullet resist as well, so the EHP from this item is fucking insane, along with giving you 8% damage, which is like not actually bad for a 500 weapon item. Holy Point Ward is like really high effective damage along with giving you Spirit Shield. Spirit Shield is like super good on pocket because you have reduced spirit resistance, and Spirit Shield gets calculated before the resistance. So this is like super good. Along with it, it gives you spirit power and really high weapon damage when you're above 60% health. Most of the time you make a go, you're gonna be above 60% health for at least the first bit of it, so you can probably get some shots off with this. Enduring Spirit helps you live a lot. It gives you a reasonable amount of HP along with spirit power and spirit lifesteal. It's kind of just an efficient item to buy. You keep this in slot as well for a pretty long time. Healing Rite, they buffed this item recently. They gave it +3 spirit power. This is already an item you considered a lot of the time because it helps you stay in lane. Press it and you just heal and you sit behind cover for a little bit. And you also use it to gank because it gives you movement speed when you press it on yourself. So you would want to go to other lanes and walk between lanes and press Healing Rite on yourself so you move faster. It's still really good to make ganks as long as you can get a kill from it. Or even if you can't, if you can just make some pressure, it's still good. Infuser. This item is ridiculous. It just gives insane value for the spirit power and the spirit lifesteal. It gives you extra HP as well, which helps a lot. Any extra HP you can get on this hero like really feels good. Mystic Reach, kind of just nice stats for your hero. It makes it a lot easier to hit your spells more consistently, especially your 1. You can get more stacks of your 1 more consistently, and your coat will hit more consistently as well. The spirit resist is also just nice. Misted Burst, it's spirit shield health on an item. Plus it gives you actually weapon damage, which is really good, and 35 bonus damage. The bonus damage is like actually relatively negligible, but like it does help, don't get me wrong. But on a 6.2 second cooldown, 35 bonus damage is actually not that high. The other stats on it are pretty good, so I think it's worth buying still. Also, you always build into Improve Burst eventually, so it's nice to have it in slot, kind of efficient. Moving into early mid game, I've separated this time into like items you pretty much always want and items that you sometimes want. I'm going to go through each and explain why. Soul Shredder is this like really efficient damage item. It helps your spells do damage along with giving you a little bit of weapon damage, so it's like just efficient. Next is Warpstone. This item is like the backbone of this character in my opinion, at least the best ways to play it. Item gives you a crazy amount of damage, it gives you spirit power, and it gives you the blink along with bullet resist when you press blink. The blink is just crazy. I think they've nerfed it like 3 or 4 times, maybe 5 times. It's still a ridiculous item. You should pretty much always buy it in my opinion. Spit Boots, I think you should pretty much always get this item on any hero. Moving around the map is so much nicer with this item. It lets you play the map so much better. Spirit Lifesteal becomes like a necessary component of living in fights pretty quickly, actually. 23% of spirit damage you do if you're on a creep wave is insane. If you're hitting 2 heroes with your spells, it's insane. Like this damage just adds up a lot. If you're hitting 2 heroes, you're healing for like half the damage your spell does to either one of them, you know? It's like really value. Mystic Vuln is another item that gives you spirit resist, and it's another item that increases your damage early. This along with Soul Shredder means your spells are going to start doing a lot of damage to people pretty early on in the game. You can burst them down pretty quickly. Improve cooldown. This is like the lowest priority of these items by a lot, but you generally want it eventually because you're going to build into superior cooldown. Talking about the sometimes items versus Mystic Shot. This item used to be like an item I would buy pretty much every game, but I think there are 2 reasons it's worse now. From range, it does less damage. The other reason is because Hollow Point is better. I think this item was like always a toss-up whether you wanted one of these. So I think it's just more consistent to want Hollow Point. But you can still go at some games, and especially if you need the extra burst damage or you think you're going to want the extra burst damage, it can be a reasonable thing to buy. Kinetic Dash is like another option for the last weapon slot. This item's good because it makes it easier to press your stamina and gives you more fire rate. It makes it just easier to play your game. You can get rid of like Hollow Point or Restorative. Probably Restorative if you're on Kinetic Dash, I guess, because it gives you more damage from having Hollow Point. So you can just like burst people down a lot easier with your gun. I don't like it that much though. Pretty rarely buy it. Suppressor, pretty good item when they have a lot of gun heroes like Haze, Wraith, Ivy, these kind of heroes that like you're threatened by them shooting you a lot. Just like slowing their weapon damage when you go in is like a big deal for you and your team if you're fighting with your team as well. Cold Front, I honestly have not bought this item in a while and I don't know if you should buy it anymore. I think it feels awkward a lot of the time, but the slow and the damage is still good if you can get it. It just takes up a spirit slot, which tends to be really contested right now for pocket. Decay falls into a similar trap as Cold Front, where like it takes up a spirit slot that you really value having. But this item is probably more necessary in some games where you have like an Abrams that's popping off or like an Infernus that you can't deal with, something like this maybe. Pretty much all the vitality items, you have to choose like one of them. Normally, you're going to want one of these 4 items. This Restorative Locket, Divine Barrier, Enchanters Barrier, or Heal Bane. Some of them are like a later game buys, like Debuff Reducer and Majestic Leap, and then you just upgrade into Enduring Speed eventually. Or you can get rid of your boots for Majestic Leap. Restorative Locket is really good because a really efficient heal. It gives you spirit resist again, so it's another item that like helps your survivability against lots of spirit damage. So if you buy like Mystic Vuln, Mystic Reach and Restorative Locket, you actually have like normal spirit resist. So like you can like actually get hit by some spells and not get blown up instantly. So this is like a reasonable buy. It also gives you just like the healing from it, and you're gonna build stacks pretty quickly because you're going into fights and you're standing in there. You'll build the stacks, you'll actually get value from this item, and you can help your team with it. Divine Barrier, similar idea to Restorative Locket. The spirit shield it gives you is really good because it gets calculated pre-resistances, so it means your negative resist won't be factored into it. The other reason this is good is it gives you ability range. Also sprint speed. Again, it helps you move on the map faster, it helps you connect to your team more, it helps you help your team because you can press it on your teammates, and it gives you ability range. So this item's like kind of really good right now. Normally you want to buy it over Restorative unless you really need the spirit resist. Enchanters Barrier, this is like probably the #1 choice that I think you go for your last green slot right now. I think it just gives you too much value. 300 spirit shield health and 20 spirit shield power, 8% cooldown reduction when you have it. Sure, you're gonna get your spirit shield blown up in fights and you won't have that bonuses anymore, but you'll have it at the start of the fight, and then you'll be able to like build it up back up by the end of it probably. So like I think it's still really good. Heal Bane, this is another item you just buy to counter heroes. You buy it to counter Abrams, you buy it to counter Infernus, any of these healing heroes, Ivy. Oh yeah, it also works with Kevlar, that's true. It'll get activated when you press Kevlar and you get your shields up from this. Majestic Leap, I didn't include this item in my last build, and I still think it's like a pretty rare buy for most games. But I think in worse lobbies especially, it's probably a better buy. The reason you buy this item is because it lets you push lanes really fast and then connect to your team or connect to another lane and push it out again. So if you're ever needing to just push lanes, this is the item you buy, pretty much. It helps you farm the map super efficiently and get really fat buying in this item. But it doesn't really help you that much in fights. It only helps you initiate really, and like maybe get out late game with E-Shift. If you find yourself like running around the map just dealing with lanes that are getting pushed into your walker, this is the item you buy to deal with that. I don't think it's that good. Debuff Reducer, you buy this when you're getting fucked and you need like to reduce their debuffs because it reduces the duration by 35%. Honestly, this is probably more of a late game item. You buy Debuff Reducer to like stop curses and stuff, particularly because you don't have another way to deal with curse. You kind of just have to sit through it and try and live. These are the items that you should go pretty much any game. I think this is a consistent build that can work most games. Superior cooldown, it lets you just like cycle your spells faster in fights and have more spells to press. So one of the main ways you live in fights is by hiding people with your blink and your suitcase and your coat. This becomes like super important because it lets you just do this more consistently and live more often. When you die on pocket is normally because you get caught with the cooldown down and then you get hit by a spell. If you can cycle your cooldowns correctly, having this item makes it just way easier to play because you can just press your buttons more often. Divinus Kevlar is like the next like big item for pocket. This is the first 60 to 200 you normally want. It gives you stats that you really value. Cooldown reduction and Spirit Lifesteal are two super important stats on pocket. It also gives you your Enchanters Barrier back, the buffs from this if you have this item. And the other reason it's really good is the Spirit Shields. These shields let you make like one mistake in a fight and like maybe you get stunned by some Abrams charge, you get stunned by some thing. If you can get your ult off, you're living anything because you have 1400 extra EHP. Generally, if you like go in, you're gonna take a lot of damage and you kind of need to like some way to live for a second and get your cooldowns off and get your like suitcase coat and get back. This item gives you that and it makes you like a lot stronger. It's like your big power spec on this hero in my opinion. So we're talking about how like you die on pocket because you get caught with your cooldowns down. So you're like thinking fuck, I have to dodge Wraith Lift, I have to dodge Abrams charge, I have to dodge this Dynamo ulting me, I have to dodge Silence Glyphs, all these things. E-Shift makes it so much simpler because you have another way you can dodge stuff. And it's an instant cast as well. Your suitcase is a 0.25 second cast time. E-Shift is instant. So you can dodge things like much easier. It's like super important to get. The other thing with this item, if you get Majestic Leap, is you can go Satchel, and then after your Satchel is about to expire, you press E-Shift out of it, and then you can Majestic Leap out of E-Shift when it expires, and it'll give you enough time. So you can do this kind of meme to get out sometimes. But it's pretty hard to do correctly, and like you'll be caught a lot by like a stun coming out of like the E-Shift trying to do this or something, So it's not like reliable. But it is like something you can be aware of, I guess. Improved Burst. Eventually, you'll start running into damage issues in the game. This item is the item you buy to solve that base. Normally you buy it after Divinus E-Shift. Next, Rebirth. This item lets you make a mistake, basically. It also gives you 15% cooldown reduction plus spirit power. 12 spirit power as well. The cooldown reduction especially is like super nice. The main reason you buy this is it lets you make one mistake in a fight. You can get caught once. Maybe you get Moan Krill ulted or something you can't really avoid. It's really hard to dodge. You get one chance and then you get back up and you can E-Shift. You can E-Shift, cancel it whenever you think there's an opportunity. Satchel, press Alt, try and get out, blink, do whatever you have to do. Try and get your way out of there, because they're probably going to be looking at you. Spiritual Overflow. This is the last cooldown reduction item you can get. It again has really good stats for pocket, cooldown reduction, Spirit Lifesteal. And the main thing for it is you just want it for the cooldown reduction, to be honest with you. When you have this plus Soul Rebirth plus Spirit cooldown plus Divinus Kevlar, you have crazy cooldown reduction. You can press your spells like a madman, and you're just like cycling them constantly. If you shoot people, you can build up the stacks. Typically, I wouldn't worry about shooting people so much, only if you get the opportunity to do it, You're still focusing on living mainly, and then if you get the chance to shoot them and build up your stacks, sure, whatever, you get plus 44 spirit, that's awesome. Last item for the build that you pretty much always want is Healing Booster. You have a lot of Lifesteal with these items. That's 10% Lifesteal. You'll have your Spirit Lifesteal, that's 23. You might have Enduring Seal, that's 10. You're having your Kevlar, that's 20 healing booster on these, gives you like so much extra health. There's 25% extra on all of that. So it ends up being like you'll have like a fuck ton of spirit lifesteal. Talking about items that you want sometimes. These items are going to be like the items that you should slot in when you can, and you should like look at these when you're trying to actually think about the game more. Improved reach. I guess technically you pretty much always want this item, but it's just like an ultra late consideration. You pretty much always hold on to Mystic Reach, so upgrading into improved reach eventually it becomes something you want to do. It's just efficient, you know. May as well get the extra range. The time that you don't want to buy improved reach is sometimes you're running out of slots and you want your reach still, but you want to get like something that lets you do more. So you go Mystic Reverb. This item is like actually insane stats. It gives you range on your abilities, it gives you spirit resist, and it gives you spirit lifesteal. These are like 3 of the most important stats on Pocket. Additionally, the effect is crazy too. It gives you the movement slow, which makes it way easier to stay on top of enemies. Plus the 40% damage from one of your spells is like ridiculous, because it counts the improved burst as well. Mystic slow, it's kind of just good. If you're like running into gun damage problems, this might be the item you want to buy. Really good against like the same heroes that we were talking about Suppressor for. Haze, Wraith, Ivy. The item feels really good to have, but the reason you don't buy it is because it slows down your timings on the items that are more important in the game, or you don't have the slots for it. These are the 2 reasons you don't buy this item. If you can get it, and you feel like it's a good game for it, it's really, really good. Superior duration. So we're talking about like how like the way you live is by cycling your cooldowns. This makes it harder for the enemies to read your cooldowns, 1, because it makes your satchel like way longer. And 2, it also makes your ult longer, but normally people buy Debuff Remover, so like I don't focus on the ult part too much. It messes with people's like idea of how long satchel lasts, because it you know, it changes how long it lasts. It goes from like 2 seconds to 2.64, I guess. And it also makes it so you have lower satchel downtime. So you can like satchel blink and then satchel again sooner, which makes it way harder for people to catch you. It also makes it easier to do the satchel into E-shift into Majestic leap thing, because you just have like more leeway. It's expensive and it's hard to buy sometimes when you feel like there are better statted items, because its stats are like pretty bad for Pocket. The other thing you really care about that it gives you is the bonus health. Echo Shard. This is another situation of an item that's like really, really good, but its stats kind of let it down. The item can be really good if you're trying to like burst people and you need a little more damage or whatever, or you're trying to like survive and you need like another way to live. Getting a second satchel off can be really nice. Just like the reason it's really nice is because like pressing your spells twice feels like really good. The reason it's not so good, your spells are on really short cooldown already. This is kind of a funny idea. Refresher is a way to deal with debuff remover. If you know the enemies have debuff remover and you're like, fuck, I can't press my ult and kill them, and you're like, I need to press ult this game, it's the way I'm gonna have impact, then you can buy a refresher and you can ult them after they press debuff remover and just like completely ruin their life. I don't know how good it is. I felt it like be real like 1 or 2 times. You know, it's kind of memey. It sounds really memey. The stats on this item are significantly better. 16% spirit resist, it's like a lot for this hero. I like spirit resist is like really important. Curse. This item does not feel good to buy on this hero. Again, the stats aren't good for you. You don't actually like pressing it in fights. It feels awkward to press. You want to buy this pretty much whenever there's like somebody who like is like a big problem and like you're the only one that can buy the curse basically. But sometimes you just have to get a fucking curse on your team and it's your job because you're fat, you know. Just be aware sometimes you need this item to deal with somebody. Unstoppable. This is like the anti-curse item. You know the enemies have curse or like stuff that you're really struggling to deal with. You press unstoppable, you will have your 6 seconds and you can just play. No fucks given, you know. Really, really good stats. Really good stats on this item. Like the spirit resist again, bonus health. Move speed is actually really important, and spirit power is nice. The downside to this item is you have to press it before you're cursed, and like you only have 6 seconds of it, you know. It's like, it feels weird. Phantom Strike, when they have a Talon or a Vindicta, this is like a big problem, or a Haze or a Wraith, Phantom Strike to them and you kill them. This is your job, you know. This is why you buy this item. So the bullet resist is nice for you, kind of. The weapon damage doesn't matter that much, but the disarm, slow, and teleporting to an enemy is really important. You're like, I need to kill this hero, or I need to deal with this hero, I need to get in this hero and ult them. You do that, you make their life miserable, and you like mess with them. This item was like central to some people's builds, like Ido. I didn't buy it every game, and I think it sits in pretty much the same spot, in my opinion, that it was last patch in the way I play. It does half the damage it used to, but aside from that, it's pretty much the same. Even if you can't kill them, you can normally force them out of the fight, make them play weird, and like help your team have space to fight. Debuff Remover, having it against Curse is pretty important because you don't have another way to deal with Curse. You kind of just have to sit through it and try and live. Against Curse, your job is to make sure that you've set yourself up in a position that if you get cursed, because you know which heroes are going to have the curse, right? You know which heroes have the curse. You're looking at the items. You have to be aware of this. Try and make sure that you're like ready for it. If you're going in on them, you press your ult early so you get your Divinus Kevlar up, and you can like live through it if they curse you. You have your debuff remover to make curse less long, and so that way it'll be harder for them to kill you during the duration. You have, you know, E-shift to try and dodge it. You can dodge curse. It is a projectile. So like if you can dodge it, it's like huge. You know, you have suddenly like a big like opening. You can also suitcase dodge it, but you have to do it preemptively because that's a 0.25 second cast time. So you're almost never going to be able to dodge it with suitcase. It's really, really rare. You just have to play really careful around curses. Silence Glyph is like not so bad because you can E-shift it and you can debuff remover it. Buy this item when you're dealing with silence curses and stuff. Leech. This is like a ultra late game item. You buy this to replace whatever lifesteal you have left in your green slots, and you replace it with this. It's just, you know, better lifesteal.